Welcome to Mommy Heal Thyself. We feature guests who provide you with the tools, resources, and strategies you need to say no to a life of pain and suffering from all forms of preventable disease, toxic drugs, and unnecessary surgeries. We hope to inspire you to boldly reclaim your ability to heal and to serve the ones you love.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Mommy Heal Thyself. Today, I have with us one of my dearest colleagues and mentor, Lynn DeBuhr, and she is a holistic health practitioner with over 15 years of experience guiding exhausted women through the cycles of their life, including perimenopause and menopause. She weaves together nutritional endocrinology, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and medical astrology to help women of all ages to reclaim the energy they've spent caring for everyone else. Through her Force Reclamation approach, Lynn teaches women to read their body's signals and restore vitality with personalized nutrition, lab interpretation, somatic trauma awareness, and ancient wisdom adapted for modern life. Well, Lynn, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a treat to get your invitation and share the message with people.
Well, one of the things I love about the work that you do is that you focus on a common group that we both love to serve, which is what we refer to as those Atlas caregivers, women who are just giving of themselves and are carrying the world seemingly on their shoulders. So tell us a little bit, first and foremost, how did you get to the point where you said, you know what, this is the group that I want to deal with? What led you to this?
Me. I'm the mother of 7, currently the grandmother to 9. I homeschooled, home birthed, all the homesteading stuff. And then one day I couldn't lift my head up off the pillow. It was what I call a suck it up buttercup moment. Just realize the fact that I can't do this all, and nor should I. That is not my purpose here. And so that's what led me on this path to understanding myself. There is no glory ribbon in being that Atlas caregiver.
The martyr.
The martyr, exactly, the endurer. And so the best thing we can offer ourselves and our families and our community is to be our best self. And exhausted, you can't serve anybody. That empty cup, there's nothing there to give. And when you do it all yourself, you're not allowing somebody else to grow by giving them a chance to serve as well. So it's actually a very selfish thing to do if you think of it that way.
I love that you put it in that type of terms. You know, what have you found to be one of the biggest mistakes or misunderstandings that women who come to you are wrestling with? And what are some of the symptoms that they are experiencing that get them to the point that says, you know what, I need to reach out to Lynn?
When they can't lift their head up off the pillow, big red flag there. But when you wake up and you're already tired, when you have to start your day with some form of caffeine, whether it's coffee or matcha or whatever, and then you have to keep that up. When you have that, what they call brain fog, you can't remember why you walked in a room. What's my schedule today? I know I'm driving somebody somewhere, but what is it? And so those are just the little signs, but that wired and tired exhaustion is a big piece of it. Sometimes you might notice your hair is thinning, your hands and feet are always cold, even when it's nice and warm out. Or you may go the opposite way. You may have hot flashes. Um, your your strength and agility decreases. Your immune system is lowered. You might get sick more frequently, and honestly, you shouldn't get sick, even if everybody else around you is. If your immune system is healthy, you should not have to worry about that. And if you're sick all the time, again, you can't take care of anybody else. So those are just some of the things to look at. The biggest mistake, I guess, is when we decide we're going to push through anyway. You know, I'm going to pull up my big girl panties and push my way on through, because that's what we do. We're that down to earth pioneer folk. And they didn't live too long. I mean, some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. And they were tired. They weren't happy. They kind of gave us a bedrock of that lack of joy. And that is not why we're here.
Yeah.
We are here to have joy.
I love that you bring that up, because you remind me of a particular paradigm that my mother always presented me with. She was always like, well, that's just the woman's lot in life. And I was like, no, I rebuke that. I'm not accepting that. But, since we're taught that both explicitly and implicitly from previous generations of women, of mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers, as well as culturally, where we are given the paradigm that we're supposed to be able to do it all. We're supposed to be able to go out and be a man, in a man's world, and then come back home and be mom and everything else. And that, I think, does us a tremendous disservice. What are your
absolutely
thoughts?
Absolutely. We all have a flow of masculine and feminine energy, and that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. But when your poor body doesn't know which way it's going all the time, it does not feel safe in your body. And then you realize something's off, and so you go to the doctor, and they just treat one thing, and it's in isolation from everything else. And so we do that to our own self, as we compartmentalize ourselves. Here I am, I'm taking care of my kids. Oh, here I am, I'm going to work. Oh, here I am, I'm having sex with my husband, or not. And that does not allow for that flow of what is to be within our life. We all are uniquely, divinely made with our particular purpose. This is what comes up when I talk to people with their medical astrology. And that also correlates to maybe their Ayurvedic dosha, or what's going on with them with traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay, now you're going to have to back up for us normal human beings that have no clue about all that gobbledygook that you just said. So tell us a little bit about, what do you mean by medical astrology, and how does that relate to the other term that you gave, which was Ayurveda?
Yeah. So in medical astrology, my particular thought pattern on this is that on the day we were born, all the planets and the time and the place, all the planets are in their perfect order, because that's the way our universe is made. And they all have an energy. And I call it like God's stamp. It's like
comes imprinted upon us.
It's printed in you. And And that follows you along with as they have their particular cycles in life. Their energy has an influence. It doesn't mean you're at the whims of the planets. Quite the contrary. If you understand, it helps you to be in flow and make choices that feel like it's in flow. And each of the different astrological zodiac signs is reflected in 12 different parts of our body. So, for example, my sun sign is Pisces, and that rules my feet, my immune system, my lymphatic system. And so I know to pay extra special attention to that. If you're an Aries, so Pisces at the very end of the zodiacs, from Aries to, okay, so then you go to Aries, and these are people who are in their head, who might have more migraines and things like that. And it goes on down through the body. And that's just, it works that way with each planet. But so each of the planets is assigned a zodiac sign and has a particular role. So Mercury, if you think of the god Mercury, he's the god that was a communicator, the messenger from the gods to, okay. So a lot of it has to do with how we communicate. So mine is in Aries, and I usually shy away from it because it's kind of like a, but it comes in handy when I'm like, hey, I need to be straight with you, and because I know that when I have that inclination to get a little more in your face, I like, oh, that's what's happening. And I can choose to either do that if it calls for it or draw back. That is how medical astrology works. It gives you a blueprint that was assigned to you on the day and time and place you were born. And it so many people that I use this with, they're like, oh, that makes perfect sense with everything that's happening to me.
It's like becoming a lot more aware of how you fit in the bigger scheme of things.
Exactly.
How are you fine-tuned to the frequencies that surround us? So each of us has a different pitch or a different frequency, different sensitivity, a different strength, a different stuff we're working on, so to speak. And I love this. I love this kind of perspective because it gives us insight into, number one, the fact that we are divinely designed. Number two, that God doesn't make any mistakes. And number three, that we are all works of progress, and so each of us has like a specific design that needs to be developed in a certain way. And it's not that you're bad or deficient or whatever it is. It's just that you have a particular gift that you were brought to this world to refine, and you have a particular challenge or lesson that you were brought to this world to explore.
Right. There's it's called the North Node. And if you understand your North Node, it's like, oh, this is my why. This is why I'm here. My lessons in life, I am what I call a happy hermit. But my lessons in life are to learn to work and collaborate with other people, even though I recognize it's uncomfortable. It's not my strength. It's not my weakness, but it's something I need to develop. And then, oh, you said something. I was like, oh yeah, that. I guess it doesn't matter. I can't remember.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back when it's ready.
So now, how does one find out your medical astrology? You said how is that determined? What is it based on?
Well, so it's based on the day, time, and place you were born. Now, not everybody knows the exact time. If you have an idea, we can even use that. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean, sorry, you're out of luck. It just means there's certain pieces I can't give you exact information on, especially the houses that you're in, but you can still learn so much with it. It can tell you, it can reassure you about things that happened when you were young. So, because God knows us, you know, he's written us in the palm of his hand. So he knows us from the very beginning, and he knows that we're going to be going through trials even as young children, but he's always there. And to me, knowing these things and recognizing them knows, oh, I was never alone. You know?
Footprints in the sand. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And so that is an important piece I'd like to leave with people, is to know, you know, you're not all alone.
Yeah.
And then you had asked about the Ayurveda. What that is.
Ayurveda. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that is an ancient medicine or lifestyle tradition based out of India. And they use predominantly three types of doshas. So you have kapha, pitta, and vata. And there's ways to get an idea of what you're at, but we all carry them. We might have a primary one, but we all carry all of them. And the world around us shows it. So like right now we're in a blizzard, so that's very vata with the wind. And my primary dosha is kapha, so I tend to be what they call unctuous. And that's not oily per se, but there's a fluidity and a moistness in it. So technically I shouldn't be living here. I should be living somewhere that's drier and more warm. Yeah. But if, again, we're aware of that, so if we find that we're putting on more extra weight, that means you might have a stagnation of kapha in your body. And there's certain things you can do. And that honestly goes along fairly well with people who have a Pisces sun sign, or, you know, any of that. So this is why I find it fascinating. You can have different systems, but they all work together. And they all tell us the same message about ourselves.
Now I'm curious, how does that interact or not interact with your faith life as a Christian? Because I know when speaking to people who are practicing Christians, not just people who have it as a name label, sometimes there's this this hesitancy, you know, to even consider these various ways of understanding how our bodies move through the world.
Right. So, as I mentioned, I think before, with the medical astrology, right there in Genesis, God made the stars and the planets as signs and messages for us. I feel I have a very deep, deep relationship with my Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. I feel like I'm honoring them by saying, oh, I see what you're trying to tell me. I am not honoring the stars. I'm not honoring the zodiac signs. I am honoring God. And I make that really clear when I talk to my clients. As far as other cultures and their medical systems, you know, God put us all around the world. We all do what we have to do, and he's organized it. And so I just kind of glean as my spirit leads me to. And it's all about honoring God.
Well, I love that you say that. And, you know, the reality is that even for those of us who are within the Western system, and
Mhm.
we tell ourselves that we follow the science. The reality is that science is yet another theology,
Mhm.
and it has its own set of high priests and priestesses, otherwise known as MDs, medical deities, and it has its own set of sacrifices. It has its own
Mhm.
set of belief structures and theologies.
Yep.
And so the difference is taking away certain mechanical understandings and understanding that there's only one true healer, you know,
Absolutely,
and
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 amen.
everything else is our befuddled way of trying to understand the
Yep.
magnanimous nature of the one infinite and omnipotent, omniscient God, you know.
Exactly.
So that's how I look at it personally, you know. But I just wanted to take that, I just wanted to really address that elephant in the room because I know
Sure.
sometimes people get uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
And and what I say to people is that, as you said, it is written from Genesis onward, you
Yeah.
know, the way in which God created the moon and the stars, the
Mhm.
way in which when Christ was born, there were
Yeah.
signs that were put into the skies in terms of the stars, in terms of the moon and everything that foretold his
Yep.
coming, you
Yep.
know. So I think that it is, as you said, acknowledging and being
Mhm.
grateful by saying, I see the signs. I talk all the time about the handwriting on the wall, that God is
Yeah.
constantly talking to us, but we have lost our ability to understand the messages because our ancestors are no longer passing down this ancient
Yeah.
wisdom. You know, we all
Yeah.
think that God Almighty, Mr. Google Science dude is the be all and end all of
Mhm.
knowledge and wisdom. And in reality, if we went back to the wisdom of our ancestors, we would have so much more clarity on our
Yeah.
purpose, on how we're supposed to interact with our world. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that we do not give proper observance and acknowledgement to these signs that you were talking about.
Yep. Exactly. Um, and the real science of it all is within us.
Mhm.
You know, sure, you can do the studies and peer reviewed and blah 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 blah, but then take that information, go, how does that apply to me?
Mhm.
I have been talking to so many women lately as I work with them that need to be doing less, not more.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
rest, rest, rest.
Yes.
And that is probably one of the greatest lost traditions. You know,
Yes.
I live in an old farmhouse and they have a rest room.
Mhm.
It's like a sunroom that the farmers would go in and rest after their midday meal
Hmm.
because they knew that's what they needed to do before they headed back out.
The siestas of the
Yeah.
Latin American countries. That's where I grew up, and so I
Okay.
remember we would have our lunch break was like 2 or 3 hours long at school because I would actually go home to lunch. We would have a break and then we would go back for our afternoon session.
Yep.
And I love that you said you also work with women who are navigating the beautiful transition of perimenopause and into menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love for you to talk about not only that, but also you have this phenomenal quiz. One of the main reasons why I wanted to have you come in for an interview is because I saw your quiz and I was like, oh my God, this is so super awesome. So tell us a little bit about those two things.
Okay, well, I'll go into the quiz because that
Hmm.
might answer all the other questions.
Yeah.
So it's called the Energy Alchemy Quiz.
Hmm.
There's 12 questions. It takes a little over 2 minutes. You don't have to rush, though. It's not like it's a timed test or anything. Um, and it asks you about your exhaustion.
Hmm.
We try to push exhaustion away. We do everything to get rid of it. We don't have a
Ignore
relationship
it.
with our exactly. Exactly. We run from it. And so this quiz asks questions for you to pause and have that relationship with exhaustion. The end result from my years of my own life and studying friends, family, and in clients are 4 archetypes of exhaustion. There's the hormonal hurricane. I don't really need to go into that. It kind of says it. There's the somatic storer. That's, again, most of women who for years store everything in their tissues. Our trauma is a living thing that stores itself in our tissues. The third one is the constitutional mismatch. This goes into the medical astrology, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, because you're trying to live with generic protocols. The experts say I should do this, should get up at 5:30 in the morning and do, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe not, because your constitution doesn't say that. You maybe, I need to do HIIT exercises. Well, maybe not. As a woman who's a kapha, it's all about gentle.
Exactly.
So, and so that's what the constitutional mismatch is. And then the last one is the transitional transformer. That's women who are going through a transition, whether it's just getting married, just having kids, just starting a job, going to school, aging parents, perimenopause, menopause, all these transitions. And again, that is where some of the medical astrology comes in, because you have things called the Chiron return. Chiron is the wounded healer, probably the most painful one out there. There's Saturn return that happens like when you're like 58 to 60, which kind of aligns with certain cycles of a woman's life, eh? So isn't that interesting? And so those are the 4 archetypes: the hormonal hurricane, the somatic store, the constitutional mismatch, and the transitional transformer.
So we're going to have the link to the quiz in the show notes, and I encourage everyone to do it because it is just phenomenal. It's a quickie. It takes less than 2 minutes, and the results are tremendously impactful. I was blown away by how on target the information was from something as simple as a 2-minute quiz. Now I'm curious, even though we're here as mommies and sisters and all that kind of stuff, can men take this quiz?
Absolutely. Men have taken the quiz. They have hormones too. They have transitions and lives. The business people that be say have a niche. So that's my niche. I'll work with men. I have men in my life,
You're not, so you're not one of those females that says, "Oh, bah humbug, get rid of all the men," then.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Fantastic.
And the other thing I would point out, when you take the quiz, you'll see the offer to join the 5-day Energy Reclamation Challenge, and that starts the 10th of February.
Fantastic. Oh, that is so super awesome. Well, my dear lovely, before we wrap up for today, what is one thing that either we didn't get to or that you think is the most important message to leave our audience with for today?
It's almost like what becomes possible when women or men stop abandoning themselves. So that would be the message. Love yourself, be with yourself. Don't abandon yourself. You are important.
Yeah, and to honor the messages that are coming from your divine self. I think that we do so much to dishonor the messaging that comes from within in deference to the messages that are coming from without.
Right. Be your authentic self.
To thine own self be true.
Amen.
My dear, Thank you so very much for joining us today. And I am looking forward to that journey with that 5-day program that you have coming up. And again, there's no excuse. Jump in. There's no charge for this. So jump in, take that little mini quiz, and then sign up for that 5-day experience.
And that's also free.
And I'm deliberately saying the word experience because that is what it is. It's an experience. It's not a mastermind or something like that. It's an experience that I promise you will transform the way that you interact with yourself, your life, with others, and the world. So until next time, my lovelies, peace and blessings.
Thank you for tuning in for this episode of Mommy Heal Thyself. If you like what we're doing here, please share, subscribe, like us, and leave a comment. Your feedback is very much appreciated.